So, because I'm from Minnesota, I want to talk about some great things to do in Minnesota. And I will not be including the Twin Cities because I live pretty far from them. I don't go to the Twin Cities that much, and there's not much to do there in my opinion. Sure, there's some stores to visit, but there's really nothing else. Like, you could go to another city, like, I don't know, Boston, and you could take ferry rides. You could do a bunch of other stuff, but Minneapolis, St. Paul, there's not much. But anyway, let's get into it. I live in the northern region, so I'm going to be mainly focusing on that. So I'll try and focus my best on the southern region 2, but I mainly know the northern region. So the first thing I want to mention is Ely. Ely, Minnesota is a very big touristy town where a lot of people come, and there's a lot of stuff to do in Ely. There's the Wolf Center, there's the Dorothy Malter Museum, there's the Sudan Mine, which northeastern Minnesota, a lot of its economy was built off mining, and a lot of its like rock formations are red because of the iron in the rock, and some of it even looks like a terraformed version of Mars. It's actually really cool, and I do highly recommend anybody visiting Minnesota to go to Ely. Now, I know Ely is in St. Louis County, which is Duluth, but I don't know where Chisholm is. I can't remember where Chisholm is. But Chisholm is another mining focused town, where like there's what is it called, the Discovery Center? I can't remember. The Discovery Center was a lot of fun when I went there last summer. I do recommend that anybody visiting Chisholm go to the Discovery Center. And what else? Let me think. I did another draft of this video in a short, but it was too long, so I'm doing it in a long form video. What was the other thing I was gonna mention? Can't remember. What was it? I can't remember. But here's one that I didn't mention in the previous draft. Grand Marais. Beautiful overlooking Lake Superior. I loved it when I went there. In fact, when I last went there in 2022, June, I got a pocket knife I still have. It says Grand Marais on it. Oops. You know what I mainly use this sucker for? Cleaning my earbuds because of the corkscrew. And that my keychain that I have, it was on the pocket knife, but I found that this keychain actually works really well, so I took it off the pocket knife and used it for my keys. Yeah, Grand Marais is nice. It's pretty far from Duluth, though. I thought it was much closer until I looked on a map and realized, oh, it is a long way. Now I remembered what I said in the previous draft. How did I forget about it? Itasca State Park, the home or the headwaters of the Mississippi River. I've been there way too many times. If I had a nickel for every time I've been there, I would be here for hours. I don't know how many times I've been there. It's been a lot of times. Last time I went, though, was almost a year ago, I think, right? Seriously, has it been a year? Might be a year or a little bit less, but it's been a while. It's been almost a year, I think. Yes, beautiful. Start of the Mississippi River, which I'll use to transition into our next segment, Angle Inlet. Now, Angle Inlet is a weird thing. You know how Minnesota kind of has that stub at the top? And I don't know how common knowledge this is, but like the little stub has a piece of land that is cut off, and the only way to get to it is going through Canada and then back into Minnesota, or taking a boat across the Lake of the Woods, or snowmobiling across the frozen Lake of the Woods, which is what I've considered doing. I might one day, because I have family up by Lake of the Woods, and so I maybe one day will actually snowmobile over to Angle Inlet. I've never been there, but it's just an interesting piece of geography. And the reason why I connected with Mississippi is because it was started, or the reason why it was cut off was because originally they thought the start of the Mississippi River was Lake of the Woods. In reality, it was Lake Itasca in Itasca State Park now. And so they kind of mapped it around Lake of the Woods, but they messed it up. Uh, and so there's Angle Inlet. I think we should give it to Canada? No, because then that's what the northern region has to say about Minnesota. Yeah. So, trying to think, what other... Oh, yeah! The bike trail, the Paul Bunyan State Bike Trail, I think it's called, I could be wrong on that, is a bike trail that goes from Bemidji to Brainerd. Now, how long is that? 115 miles. I've ridden on the Bemidji Bike Trail a bunch of times, and I've thought to myself I'd kind of like to bike all the way to Brainerd, but I wouldn't do that unless if I was doing it with someone and we were planning it out, because 115 miles isn't, like, I'm used to riding bike all the way to the nearby town on the highway, which is 5 miles, and so yeah, biking 115 miles would be hard. Doable. Now, what next? Well, there's Red Wing. I haven't been to Red Wing for years, but Red Wing, great town. They're all about their pottery and their art and their perfection. It's really, really good. I do recommend anybody visiting the south part of Minnesota to go to Red Wing. And then there's, I think it's called Chisago. And I think it's called City Center is the capital, or is the county seat. But I vaguely remember going there. It was very pretty, very beautiful. I do recommend anybody. Again, it's pretty close to Red Wing, actually, I think. I didn't go on the same trip, surprisingly. I went to Chisago in 2023, Red Wing 2017, so that's kind of weird. I'm trying to think. How did I forget to mention? Lake of the Woods is a really popular fishing spot. I just remembered I forgot to mention that. When I say it's really popular, I mean when I was driving back, like I mentioned, I had family up by Lake of the Woods. And I remember Christmas 2024, the day after it, December 26th, 2024. My mom and I were driving back home, and the road that goes up to the Lake of the Woods is a really, really busy road, but December 26th, it was even busier. We were like the only car on this side of the road. We were pretty much the only car leaving Lake of the Woods, while a bunch of vehicles were going up to Lake of the Woods with like their fish houses and stuff. I remember we were at this one intersection, which is nicknamed Busy. That's a different one. Busy Corner is nicknamed a different one, but this corner was really busy. We were the only car leaving, and there were like 5 cars that all turned left to go up to Lake of the Woods in a row. And they could have gone straight to go, I don't know where else, on a road that led to like Coochin County or something. But yeah, it's a really popular fishing spot, and I can see why. It's a huge lake. I've fished on it a couple of times before. I have not fished on it for years, though. But another thing in Lake of the Woods is actually Zipple Bay. Zipple Bay is really nice bay, and I remember one year I went to the igloo they have on the ice, where it's an igloo. You can like, it's a restaurant that you can sit and fish right there. I tried fishing while I was waiting for my food that one time I went there. Didn't catch anything because ice fishing. I hate ice fishing, even though I'm Minnesotan. I hate ice fishing. Isn't that weird? But yeah, it was a lot of fun to do it. Like, Lake of the Woods is a beautiful place for fishing, snowmobiling, and yeah, it's a great county. I really like it. And Hmm. What else do I have to say about Minnesota? That's a great place to go. Hmm. Oh yeah, Detroit Lakes. I think it's Detroit Lakes, but somewhere there's like an ice castle that is built February. I think it's